Calling to order this meeting of the Tuckahoe School Board for March 28th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. I'm going to do the roll call, starting with Director Voloja.
District 2. Dennis Means, State Representative.
Dave Larson, District 5.
Edna Morris, District 4. Dr. Gloria Shade, Superintendent Designate.
And welcome to our guest. Director Huber is excused. And we'll start with our welcome agreement. These are agreements from the Courageous Conversations book. Stay engaged, experience discomfort, be vulnerable, speak your truth, expect and accept non-closure. And our land recognition. We in the Tuckahoe School District acknowledge that the land where we teach, collaborate, learn, and play is the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Muckleshoot people, past and present. In honor of gratitude, the land itself and the Duwamish and Muckleshoot tribes. As a public school district, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of this land, and we recognize the Duwamish and Muckleshoot people who have been living and working here since time immemorial. Do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Oh, second.
Then moved and seconded, approving the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. We have our first public comment period. Has anybody signed up in the room? Nobody signed up. We received no comments in advance of the meeting. Anybody who's online wants to give public comments, you can put your name in the chat or raise your hand using the Zoom raise hand function. And give it a couple moments. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting to provide comments as well. So not seeing any. We'll move on to the student representative report.
So the past month I've been we had a meeting with the whole team and the sound discipline team, to review some discipline data and just move forward with next steps. I don't remember the exact details, but I'm hoping you will talk a little bit more about that, but basically we looked at the segregated data by race, by group, by grade, and by school. And we just kind of made some more recommendations moving forward. Like how could we define discipline and how could we kind of take away from this data that we're looking at and where are the disproportionalities. The foster race and equity team is also starting up again with the student oriented and student led structure. We're trying to find someone to lead the Instagram, and then we're trying to have more students join in, and we're trying to create like kind of a pipeline starting from middle school to the high school, so that we have, consistent participation from students. And then for, in my classes, specifically environmental science, we're having a group of students, talk about and plan a 4 trips. One of them is the Earth Day celebration at Foster High School. There's 3 field trips, one at Seward Park, one at the UW Arboretum, and one at Starkey Park. That is in place of the what is it called, like camp that we usually do every year, which we're not able to do this year. So that's those filters are gonna be in place with that, and the students are gonna be paired up. High school students will pair up with a group of the graders, and we'll lead a bunch of activities throughout the 4 field trips. And we're planning on that, where the students are actually pretty excited, and of course, we heard the fifth graders keep asking about it, like, oh, when is it happening? So, I think both sides, everyone's pretty excited for that to be happening. And then also, the Foster team won second place in the Northwest Regional for marathon. It's an environmental science competition, and they placed second place overall. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Larson. So, just a quick update. The district MTSS team met, and based on conversations from 2021, 2022, the focus has been on Tukwila Elementary School. A reading tier fidelity inventory, also known as RTFI, was facilitated with a team at Tukwila, where they reviewed 21 indicators that focused on the implementation of tier 1 reading components and determined 2 areas to prioritize now and going into the 22-23 school year. The first area, 1.4, the school has a comprehensive tier 1 reading assessment system and personnel to support the system. That is an area that they want to prioritize. And then 1.14, teachers provide intentional and differentiated tier 1 instruction, which speaks to high quality first instruction. That is another area that they want to elevate and focus on going forward. There was also a request for some GLAD training, and not just a one and done, but an ongoing GLAD training. In terms of accreditation, there are 30 standards that principals have been asked to rate from level 1 to 4, 4 being the highest level of implementation. Staff have now been asked to rate the same standards and provide evidence of their rating. This is all being done in preparation of the on-site visit that will take place on April 26, 2023. Cognia, which is our accrediting agency, is scheduled to visit Foster, Showalter, and Thorndike, for the possibility that a visit will happen at the other elementary schools. This information has been shared with staff via the weekly bulletin. There was a group of staff members that attended CAVE, the California Association for Bilingual Education, and all of the workshops were very, very informative. Some of the workshop participants attended a workshop called Comprehensive View of Critical Literacy, Biliteracy Development for Bilingual Students. There was discussion on the science of reading and the missing components, which included background knowledge, critical thinking, critical listening, speaking, and writing, as well as multilingual and multilanguaging, which led to some of the following questions. Is decoding and language comprehension enough for creating meaning? Is reading comprehension bound to words on a page? Each of the workshops had takeaways, and the biggest takeaway was every child comes to knowing based on experience. So we thought of that as asset-based mindset. There will be an opportunity for the group that attended CAVE to present later on in the year. Also, our dual language program, there was a total of 32 applications for 22 slots. So a lottery was facilitated and students have been selected. A teacher has been identified, and there will be a ribbon cutting ceremony in honor of the inaugural dual language program, with more information to come. Our math pilot, the Curriculum Council met and decided that it was best to continue with the pilot. Curriculum Council wants to provide parents with an opportunity to learn more about the pilot and provide feedback through community cafes. Dr. Dino and her team are working on making this happen in April. School progress monitoring, or school improvement progress monitoring. Principals had an opportunity to share where they are respective to their school improvement plans. That was presented in December 22 and February 2023. Our leaders and the staff at their respective schools have worked hard at meeting the goals that teachers established for students at the beginning of the year as it relates to academics, SEL, race, and equity. Schools celebrated student success with a student recognition assembly. Award medals were presented to students who improved 10 points in I-rated on either reading and math and principal awards, principal medals if they reach 25 points in either subject. Students, staff, families, and administrators are all excited about the growth. There will be a 100-point challenge for our scholars that the principals are working on, and at the end, hoping that scholars will continue to grow. Professional development has taken place, more specifically at the high school, as it has been outlined in their school improvement plan with a request for support on math. The SBA window opened March 6, 2023, and all schools have been trained. When it comes to our after-school programs, each of the schools have had a cart of 40 laptops for students in the after-school program so that they can work on iReady. Champion staff have been trained and are excited about supporting student academic and social emotional development. The Burke Group is in the process of completing a program evaluation. They've interviewed site directors for Champions, myself, parents, and have been asked to interview students. They will be providing an update mid-May. Teaching and Learning continues to meet with a team of teachers regarding curriculum and instruction. The team has considered the profile of the scholars in our district and are using the guiding principles for dual language, education for developing guiding principles for the work that has been done in identifying high-level strategies for teaching and learning. They've read The Opportunity Myth, and they've had an opportunity to understand and unpack what the opportunity myth is, and that lot to unpack there. They've also had an opportunity to read Unleashing the Power of Best First Instruction. And now they are reading the book, Anti-Racism and Universal Design for Learning, Building Expressways to Success. And they're doing that in planning for our next session, where we're going to be looking at the progression standards, as well as the scope and sequence for the work that is to be done related to the profile of our students and TSD. The next meeting for that will happen on April 11th. Tomorrow, we will have Puget Sound ESD here for continued race and equity training that will happen from 4:30 to 7. And our Afghan Refugee Support to Schools, OSPI, sent approval notification on February 28th with an award amount of $70,000 classes for parents to get students ready for kindergarten. We have school tutors for students who speak Dari or Pashto at the secondary level. And then there's training for staff, and we're working specifically with the Afghan refugees. With the Hope team and Sound Discipline team, we did have an opportunity to meet. And it is a continuation of the work that we have started as it relates to our discipline referral form, where we want to make sure it is streamlined from K all the way to the high school. We also have had an opportunity to look at student data, and some of the data that was shared with us as it relates to where we have the greatest opportunity is in the classroom as well as the playground. And then we also had an opportunity to look at the ethnic groups that are being represented by the data, and our greatest opportunity to grow from the information that our students are giving us. From there, we will continue to work with the whole team and decide on next steps. And the last portion of the report is that our open house dates for the 2023-2024 school year have been decided, and that information will be shared out. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I guess your April Live, next agenda item, April Live, it says, I'm not sure what that is, Dr. Herndon. Oh, just go ahead.
But yes,
Okay.
so he had reached out to John Welch at the, no, I'm sorry, yeah, at the ESD. And I just spoke to Renee Hill, yeah, and have set up a meeting for Flip, and I think Dr. Berger, are you joining that meeting? She had mentioned something about that.
Okay.
And it'd be on the week after he returns, so April 10th, we will be meeting.
Can you back up? And I don't know what April Live campaign is.
Oh, that's, at the last meeting, Carly had talked about, it was at the special board meeting, she had talked about, doing a live campaign as to
Oh.
why
Okay,
out into the community and
Okay.
wanted an update on logistics and
okay,
status.
okay. Yeah, so that was about working with DSC. Okay. Okay. Director's reports. Start with Director Morris.
I attended the CTE meeting to hear the presentations about the potential CTE classes for approval, and very impressed with the outline. Went to the choir concert, which was very well attended and delightful. I was sorry to have missed the band concert. I look forward to the Disney performance at SKU tomorrow, or Thursday morning, and the robotics competition in Auburn this coming weekend.
Director Bolichek.
I don't have a whole lot to report. Well, I will say that Edna and I took our coffee cart. We completed our coffee cart rounds at every school since our last report, and that was well received. Every school and every building, every department. So that was on behalf of the board. I'm listening to a great podcast. I think that it's Sold a Story. Have you heard of that one, Dr. Dina or Dr. Borges? Sold a Story. Have you? It's about the reading curriculum that we've used for the past 20 years or whatever. And I think it gives us some insights into what's gone wrong across the country, not just in the school district, but across the country, in teaching our kids how to read. So I'm hoping to gain some insight and maybe have more conversations about that. And I think that's my report.
So I wanted to
That's what she just did.
start with a little experience that I had that I think happens actually in this district a fair amount. I've been working with the robotics after school program, 5th grade at SVU, and one of the students I was working with is a girl, 5th grade girl whose family came over from Afghanistan a year ago, and you know, she was still kind of learning English, but I was working with her on the robotics, and you know, she was, you know, she gets that. This happens, I'm sure, a lot in our district when students, you know, get delighted by either something that they're learning, or they get something, or they're, you know, connected with something that they feel passionate about, and I had that experience with this girl, and you know, I started thinking afterwards, you know, this is a girl that, you know, if her family had not gotten her out of Afghanistan, the probabilities for her getting an education would be pretty bleak, and yet she came here, and hopefully we'll be able to give her help her reach her fullest potential. So it's one of those little moments that I'm sure happens a lot in this district, but sometimes we don't you know, celebrate them enough. So anyway, it was a good little experience. I did want to share on a totally different subject. OSBI came out with their kind of financial evaluations of districts from kind of last year, and we are one of the, I think, 7 districts in the state that are in this financial warning situation, which is basically tied to, you know, our low fund balance and the fact that we've been, you know, spending more than we're taking in, and so it just kind of emphasized as we go into our budget season for this year, we're going to need to pay close attention to balancing our and our chief financial officer has made this point, you know, several times, you know, balancing our expenditures to our revenues, which is going to be in some cases a little painful, but we really need to get a handle on the finance as we go forward. I was able to attend the national or the Northwest Conference on Computers in Education down in Tacoma, which, as the name indicates, is about using computer technology in education. Some of our folks, the Creative Learning Labs teachers, Marcy Rice and Estelle Kim and Kim Novak, and Baron Hayes gave a presentation at on basically how to introduce coding into the elementary schools. It's really interesting to be a great presentation, and you can, you know, get them to do it. For us, it'd be interesting because they took this problem that we have a problem with. We're offering computer science at the high school, but there aren't a whole lot of students taking it. And so their kind of approach to this was that, well, if we can get students, you know, enthusiastic about it, competent at the elementary school, then we can kind of build it on up. And so they got a grant from Amazon, I think it's called the Boot Up Grant, which provides training and to the staff for how to incorporate coding into their instructional time. And apparently it's been quite successful. I can attest to what's going on at Cascade View in the robotics classes. The students are vastly more capable of coding than they used to be. And hopefully that will translate. One of the things that they, it's interesting that they brought up in their presentation, they had a kind of lessons learned slide, and one of the things that they were talking about was the fact that we kind of have a hole at the middle school. Students are getting these skills in elementary school, but there's not a whole lot of opportunity for them to use it at middle school. And then in high school, maybe talking about what the high school is doing with robotics. They are in the first robotics competition. They're doing great things. So we kind of have this hole that we need to fill so that students can be successful all the way up. But there's lots of discussion, of course, at this conference about ChatGPT, the AI program that everybody's trying to figure out how to use. There's another really interesting session which they called virtual cultural exchange. So this is a program that there's students in Latin America, classes in Latin America, that were able to connect up via the internet and have conversations and share lessons with the schools in the US. There's a couple of Seattle schools that have done it, School of Edmonds that have done it. We did it a long time ago, before all the great technology. This group out of Seattle provides the technology for the rural schools, in this case Guatemala, and then you can set up lessons. And so anyway, that would be, I was thinking that's a great opportunity, in particular as when we get our dual language program going. And this is kind of like 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, but years down the line, where, you know, we have bilingual students can talk to students that are primarily Spanish speaking, and there can be a lot of good interaction. And I know when we've done this kind of hookups in the past, students get very excited about talking to, you know, students from around the world. So anyway, the technology, pardon me? Yeah, the nice thing about Guatemala is it's only about an hour off. Yeah, so I mean, it gets trickier when you're talking about like Africa or Asia or, you know, something. But anyway, it's a really nice program, and the nice thing is that they, you know, have the contacts in these different schools around, and they provide the technology there. And so on our side, we just need to connect up with them. Anyway, it was a neat program. And I did go to, so our high school, as was mentioned, is participating in the first robotics program this year. They have 2 what they call qualifying competitions. The first one was last weekend at Sammamish High School, and next one will be next weekend at Auburn. And if you've never seen those competitions, they're just kind of mind-blowing, very sophisticated. it's a combination of team and alliances. So they have matches with our 3 teams against 3 teams. And the teams are called alliances. So you're working in that thing, you're working with 2 other teams and how you approach, and there's ways to get points and all that, moving the robots around and cooperating and, you know, so forth. And there's like 12 different matches over the course of 2 days. I mean, it's a pretty intense environment where, you know, our teacher leader, Matthias Shaman, and he has a couple of adults that are helping him. It's a lot of work, but the students are getting, you know, phenomenal skills in not only the technology, which they've built and then they are executing, but also in teamwork, working with other people that they don't even know. And anyway, it was interesting. The Foster group, they had some equipment problems in the first couple of matches, and they were kind of at the bottom of the 32. And by the end of the day, they'd worked themselves up to 18, which is, I think, typical of what I've seen from Foster High School and their athletic programs and everything. The students don't give up there; they just keep going, and you know, it says a lot about their character, I think. So anyway, they'll be, and we're going to Auburn next weekend for another intensive round of things. They have, there are 13 students that are participating, and so we'll see. I think we have our agenda tonight. Should they win, should they get high enough, they may go to Cheney. It's going to be tough because they've had these equipment problems earlier in the one up in Sammamish, but we'll see. Maybe they'll get there too anyway. And then I attended another one, WERA, which is the Washington Education Research Association Conference, it was also in Tacoma. And they have, there's a couple of interesting sessions on co-teaching, which I know we're working on. They folks from Snoqualmie Valley were doing that around. They're primarily doing it in the elementary schools around special education co-teaching, and so they had some interesting lessons. It definitely their lessons are. It requires commitment by all involved. So that's one of the things they kept emphasizing, because if you don't have everybody committed, you know, it involves multiple people coming. It's not the traditional, you know, one person in a classroom. It's multiple people, you know, moving, and it does require everybody to be on board and understand what's going on and so forth. But they showed some really great results as a result of that. And so if you can get it to work well, it's a nice result. Let's see, what else was there? Oh yeah, there was a nice presentation from spoke over in Yakima about how they were able to use student voice to transform some of their systems. They're using something called circles and collecting the data and analyzing it. And so there are several examples of how districts are using student voice to transform, you know, what was going on in their schools. So there's been a lot of focus on what I sometimes we call perceptual data, how students are feeling and understanding things, which is providing some great insights into how to improve the educational experience. So that's my report. I'll talk a little bit about the legislature. So the big thing this last 2 weeks or week was the legislature came out with their capital budgets. Unfortunately, kind of the downside for us is our project that we were hoping to get funded out of their redoing the PAC did not make the list. I'll have to wait till Dr. Aaron gets back and try to figure out why it did get on the list, but we didn't make that one.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Are
you saying it was on the list and it didn't get approved?
Well, we applied and it didn't make the list of what was approved. As far as there's 2 big things that are happening in the legislature this last week is the revenue forecast. So the current revenue forecast for what the state thinks they're gonna be getting in revenue, which impacts everybody who takes money from the legislature, which is including us. Unfortunately, it went down, the forecast was down, so, from the previous forecast, so they have about $500 million less to work with. On the other hand, what turned out to be well is the Supreme Court, decided that the capital gains tax was constitutional, and so that injects about 500 million into the, or it keeps it in the pot. And so it was kind of a wash in terms of the total revenue to the state, but that's going to be good for state revenue going forward. And the rest of them, yeah, it looks like the recess bill, we will be having 30 minutes of recess starting in 2025. The special education is still being fought. There's the two factions, and I have to see who's going to win. We're voting for the Senate version, which will give us more money on the special ed side. And I think that's all I have to say on the legislative side. So, okay. No questions. That will move to. Need to move a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So,
Second.
Then moving to second, and that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Consent agenda has been approved. We're now doing the board discussion. So the first one is the board of directors. There's two documents here. One is called board of directors priorities documents. The other one, board of directors budget priorities. The priorities document is it's about the work of the board, that is, what reports and so forth. We want to see, what meetings we want to have, those kinds of things. And then the second one is going to be, is talking about the priorities for the budget. So I don't know, I think Ms. Kaur made some updates to the first document,
I did,
yeah.
and, we're waiting for the board to go in and put in their comments and suggestions as well, so I can continue updating it, and I haven't seen that yet.
So you're not talking about the board budget.
No,
No,
just talking about the first one.
Other one, and I missed seeing it, so you sent it out to us?
no, it's a Google one, because
Oh.
you guys put some comments on them.
is it the-
So
So
you're,
it's just kind of a little nudge.
yeah,
You're just reminding us that we need to do that.
so this was, yeah, it's kind of a list of all the things that we want to see reports on, and
Okay.
and there's a section on, some book studies, which we're doing street data basically as part of the race and equity training. Actually, a couple of those we're doing as part of race and equity. And then there's some follow-up items like the SRO, Thorndike mascot. And I don't know, are you,
So this really helps guide us.
yeah,
Setting the agenda.
Right.
what We plan for, what's coming up in our next Saturday meetings, work sessions, so that staff who are working on these can prepare and get the information gathered, so we don't have to bump it off the agenda or move it to another meeting way out in the future. And it just helps us stay in line with where the board is going. Everything that is from the other document has been added on to this document.
So,
the difference between
yeah,
this document. This is like our work, the work that
Right.
happens in the meetings. The other one is about budget priorities, and it's more about the staff work.
no, I get that,
Yeah, okay.
I get the difference.
Okay,
I did not realize that I had access
okay.
to that one. And you've told me several times, I don't know if there's a way that you can nudge more with sending the link
Sure.
Yeah,
There absolutely is always.
Does these, is that a Google Doc or a?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
and so are you, you're looking for any addition or things that aren't additional things or things that we could take off
I'm
or?
looking for additional things,
Yeah.
I'm looking for, if you want it organized differently, do
Yeah.
you want certain things marked, do you
Yeah.
want? When would you like to see this report, what would you like in the report? That really helps us to get a full picture of what's needed, so when we bring it to the board, it's.
So we took a little run at kind of the organization. This originally was just a big, long, continuous list of stuff. And we've organized it a little bit, so there's a fiscal, budget kind of stuff. Then there's various academic kind of reports, and then there's the social, emotional, mental health stuff. And then there's some stuff around how do we look at data and stories, and then board retreats, and then there's a long list of all the reports that we get at various times, and then, yeah, the book study, like I said, we're doing, and then kind of follow-ups. Things that we want to see.
One of the things that we had talked about the last time we talked about this document is that. I think it was Director Larson and someone else, I can't remember who, was going to go through some of these policies on here to see if they needed to be updated to remove the annual reporting requirement like stat vacations. One.
Okay, so that's,
So I'm not sure who was going to be doing that.
I can be pretty clear, it wasn't me. Cause I can't,
Was that
yeah,
you? That's what we're doing, but I can do that.
I think it was you and Director Larson.
Okay,
Is that correct?
so,
Go back and look.
so you wanna
I can do that.
go through and see ones that
I
could be.
don't remember that.
So that's.
So is there any, okay,
Well, in any particular time we're free
any particular,
to go through the policy.
a deadline for doing it or?
No, just, I think you guys can talk about when you want to meet.
Oh, I see. Oh, I don't know. In my mind, it was looking for, yeah. Like there's some that would be kind of obvious.
Right.
What was it?
But you'll have,
School on vehicles. I mean, we don't have any, so that one.
Don't get a car? Isn't there a car?
so this policy specifically says who it's assigned to.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that was that when they had a superintendent who wanted a car.
Yeah.
So what I expect out of that is like, these policies need to be changed, and I have a list, I can change them, and the board has to do all.
Yeah. So if you want to just go through and if there's anything that looks like it's,
I'll get that to you.
yeah, bring it back, yeah. Is there any other particular, anything in particular? You're looking for,
Is there anything else that you want to add to this? Is there any additional comments? Are there a different way you want to organize? I know that the SF requirement is one that I think one of the board requested for, is this a state or federal requirement? And I added it based on the board's request.
oh.
But you guys are free to go in and add things.
Okay. Thank you.
So is this do you want, is it going to have something done by a certain time, or is this a kind of ongoing?
It's an ongoing, but you know,
Okay.
with certain things. Like this one needs, okay, you guys can see that thing first, but if they really, like know when the data stuff comes out, that would be extremely helpful. If we could have dates in there for data reports.
Oh,
You know, those types of things, so that when I work on the agenda
Okay,
and then we meet, oh, well, this isn't ready, so we take that off and, you know. It just, like I said, it helps the guy.
Is
Yeah.
it possible for teaching and learning to be included,
You are an editor
Yeah.
on that, absolutely.
when it comes to identifying dates for specific
Yeah.
reports?
Yes.
I think you guys might do this to, you know when the data is gonna become available between, when the data is gonna become available. I mean, that's all I would do, is I would kind of go through and say, well, looks like this data will become available, I mean, obviously SBE comes in August or something, and so,
And so it's one thing in terms of when it's released, but then to have a report.
Yeah,
due-
yeah, okay, yeah, so that's good, yeah, so, backing that up so that you have enough time to
To do it.
to do an analysis of it, that would be really,
Thank you.
that would be good. Okay, so
So
that's,
I had asked for us to have a discussion about whether to add that other language to our opening. And I don't know if that goes on this kind of agenda or.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the language that our facilitators use at the beginning with their land acknowledgement, that second part of that. Acknowledgement, I asked if we could consider having that
Yeah,
added.
yeah.
I don't know how that gets on an agenda to talk about.
seems like that could just go on the next agenda. Yeah, just put it on as under board discussion next time.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got a couple of items, so that's gonna be an ongoing
Correct.
thing that we'll use to hopefully keep. As ideas come up,
And do we have on here, do we have the follow-up on new board directors? That conversation? That's-
yeah. there is a-
Okay.
It's not a, yeah,
I thought I saw it here. Maybe it didn't. Oh, yeah, board retreat as well. It's under the whole thing, new members and,
No, I'm talking about how we're gonna,
Oh.
recruit.
that, okay. Yeah, that should probably be added.
the recruiting, or recruiting,
Yeah,
or director recruiting.
yeah.
We want that on the agenda as well. What the next agenda?
Well, that's kind of what the April Live campaign
Oh, is that what that
was
is?
about,
Okay, gotcha,
so.
gotcha, okay.
I suppose you could, add that under board discussion for the next few meetings,
Yeah, I get it, okay.
yeah. Yeah. It'd probably be good to change that name to like, board recruitment from April Live,
Okay,
just so.
I use, President Rivers.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, you could put both in. Board recruitment, April Live,
I think I got it now.
yeah.
Yeah.
But just for somebody else reading, they might not. Say, what is April Live? I didn't know. Okay. All right, let's go on to the budget priorities. So in response to Director Morris's, desire for a circle,
Yeah, thank you. I really-
Yeah.
I actually thought about it, and I think this is probably a pretty decent way. I mean, we're gonna need, oh yeah, there you are. The CFO is gonna need kind of multiple ways to probably present budget priorities to different, depends on who they're, who she's talking to at the time. And I thought this was a way to, kind of at a high level, present it in that circular way that you're talking student success in the middle, and then, all the other things supporting, student success. And then there's that, and then we were asked to, let's see, oh, this is another, Google Doc that I guess isn't linked on is it linked on the agenda? I don't think it,
This is the document.
yeah,
Oh, we'll pull it up,
no, I'm looking, yeah, board budget priorities. We're asked to kind of look through, so this document, what it does, it has all the priorities that we talked about together with, current, so what's going on in these, I think in virtually all of them, almost all of them. There are things going on in each of those areas. And so then the question back to the board was, okay, which of these do you think, there should be maybe more going on? Because there's something going on in all of them as a way of establishing kind of prioritization. And so it looks like Director Volojek and I were the ones that put something in. Almost all of mine were related to, I'm looking, in some of these, I'm looking for a plan of, so for example, the high quality pre-K. I'd like to have I think we do have kind of a plan, an idea of where that's going, or where we want to go with that. But that's kind of what I was asking for in some of the pre-K and the arts and college and the high school. I noticed there was nothing there, but turns out I didn't realize, but in the answer to a question I was asking about dual credit, we actually do have college and high school. It's one course at this point, but there are others that are starting to think about it. And it's out at Central Washington, which I mentioned before, a lot of those schools are doing that. So, so that one, another one, just, okay, so what are we thinking about there? I mean, it doesn't need to be I just like to have some kind of plans of what we're trying to get to. I mean, we may not get to all of them, but at least we kind of know where we're going. That's what I was asking for. And Director Volojek, do you want to speak to your areas that you put yes for?
I am just totally lost. I'm
No.
sorry. It's been a stressful day and I am not keeping up because I can't find that document now. So where am I supposed to be looking?
If you share it, then she can have mine. Share button.
Well, yeah, it's already shared.
No, but then if you share it, it'll pop to the top of her email.
Oh, it's on the top of her list. Okay.
Yeah, she can open it up right there. Share it again.
So am I looking at my Google Docs or down in the calendar?
He's gonna share it and then it's gonna pop up at the top of your email and you can open it up.
Okay,
People with access.
thank you.
Time.
sorry, click share.
Yeah.
And then also type in them again.
No.
Yeah, just like, yeah. And then share. And then it's gonna pop up at the top of the one.
So I guess this is a question for you, Dr. Borchardt. So these ones that I'm not sure, that's our plan. I think it's probably in process, or, I mean, there's ideas rolling around in people's heads.
Yes.
And so I'm not sure it would require a whole lot more budget implications, but, certainly for the pre-K plan, for the arts, we've talked about different things on the arts. The other that hasn't been talked about a whole lot, although as part of the arts report, was the integration, integrate the arts into existing programs, which is so, if there's a plan to do that over some number of years or
And
something
then
like
share
that.
that.
Yeah, just so we have an idea. And then, let's see what else is there. Oh, yeah. Avid. We've talked about, getting all school avid. Is that a real thing or is it something, and some of these could be, we want to do it 2 years, 3 years, whatever.
Some phases of what we're doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, kind of what's going on with that, we know we're gonna maintain the existing avid program, and then. Oh, yeah, the other one you didn't put the financial education, so that was a blank, but I know you talked about you're working with ECU and junior achievement.
Yes.
And so there's something going on there and to see if, so the plan, if we can get it. I have a feeling, having looked at junior achievement and VCU, depending on how we engage them, that could be the plan.
Yes.
Yeah, potentially, because it's pretty rich, some pretty rich stuff there in terms of. And then what was the last one we did? Oh, yeah, portrait of a graduate. So there's some question about what that meant. So what I'm talking about is the State Board of Education. They have a portrait of a graduate, which, is a place to kind of start. It says, we know we have graduation requirements for some credits and so forth, and high school and beyond plan, and some of those involve test scores, but then there's life skills, there's community, there's kind of the 21st century skills out there as, this is, and we're, we've got a lot of this stuff going on in various courses. And so just to kind of set this out here, this is what we want our students to look like when they graduate at a kind of a high level. And I know a lot of districts are doing this, but this is a good great one to start with.
Yeah.
So we captured more. So those were the ones I think that I was just looking for. Yeah. Just a plan, even is just a skeleton plan of what's, what we're trying to head for. I don't know, Director Bojack, did you?
Got it. Yeah, I'm not sure what I added to this. Did I really add something?
Yeah, so you said, let's see, what did you say? Yes.
I mean, it may have been the health clinic.
Dave, District 4 is mine.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, that's good.
okay.
That's right. Yeah, I'm confused. Never mind. Director Morris, yeah. Talk about the ones you added.
I just commented that I'd like some of these increased if possible, like. And I'm not sure it's necessary to increase them to continue them, like onboarding and retaining our focus. How do we do that? If it takes an increase, then yes, but if it doesn't. Communication, I think our communication person has done an outstanding job, and I'd like to see that, more of that, if possible.
So I'm gonna be clear, our communication person has done an outstanding job and you want to see more communication?
Well, I would like to see it continue,
Gotcha. Continue. Yes.
and I don't believe she wants a full-time job, but someday it may evolve into a full-time position, so. I just don't want to lose that position. Because I think it's been a very beneficial one for us.
I will comment about the healthcare clinic. Our students don't have easy access to healthcare, in my opinion. And from what we hear from parents. So if they go to the nurse's office, the nurse, if they're sick, reasonably says, you need to go to the doctor. And there is no doctor available for them. Because either insurance or transportation or language barriers, whatever it is. And so we've talked over the years about having a health clinic in the high school. And maybe with Health Point being close enough, that'll take care of that. But I just want us to keep that in mind that I think that's a missing piece for our students.
Can you, I think they asked, this is a request from the
Right.
board director, please, can you you can go in and type in there, can you fill that in with basically what you just said?
Okay.
I have a follow-up question.
is it possible to form an exploratory committee, the board forms an exploratory committee to help flesh this out? And what type of a lift would that be for the school to have a health clinic? We just want to make sure that we have all of the questions answered.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm, it is exploration.
Thank you. Okay. And then will
Yeah.
the committee then report back out in terms of what has been discovered?
Yeah. Thank you. So,
Yeah, I think that's, so the status that is listed here is begin, so that would be
Yeah.
form a committee and try and, because I mean, you know, for years we've been doing things like cooperating with vision, dental, and so, and then the immunization clinics, and there's been a lot of stuff going on, but with Director Belichick is something, you know, above and beyond
Above,
that. And whether, and it would be tough at this point to have space and provide operational, but, you know, establishing what kind of services we'd like, and then we can have conversations maybe with others in the community, maybe with others, you know.
Thank you.
Okay, so the question, I guess, I think this was originally Ms. Birdsong's, you know, does this help you with what you, because you're trying to translate this into dollars at some point, and
And can I ask one more question?
yeah,
We have 27 minorities on here. Right? I thought back to when we did the RTFI with Tukwila Elementary School. And although there were 21 indicators, they picked 2 priorities to focus on. Not to say that we would pick 2 priorities to focus on, but are there some things that are I want to make sure we just do well.
Well, I think some of these, like the dual language, it's already going. So, you know, there's that, there's the arts plan is in works, yes. So some of these things are already in work.
This, okay, so we're sustaining those.
Well, we don't want to lose them.
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, this was about, I mean, virtually all of these, I think virtually all of these things have something going on in them. And so the question was, that we came down to, was there any that we think, you know, we wanted to increase emphasis on versus just, you know, sustain what's going on. And I think what it came to, like I said, the ones I was looking for was developing some plans, which may not have, you know, necessarily a big budgetary implication, because what Ms. Berzon is looking for is the budget issues. And then, so, I mean, I think I don't know, personally, I think we're in pretty good shape. I mean, it's pretty much, I mean, all these things we've talked about at various times, so we're in pretty good alignment with what's going on.
It would be interesting to know how far along some of these are. And then what do we really need to concentrate on more of?
Because I want us to be mindful of this fund balance that we're just trying to get to.
Yeah, and so that's, it's a little hard at this level to translate them into dollars. I mean, that's what depend on her to do, and then come back and say, well, yeah, we could continue doing this, but it's gonna cost $1 zillion, and so we can't really, and maybe we need to scale it back a little bit, some recommendations. That's why I kind of, originally I wanted to add, you know, all the things that are currently going on in the area, so that we could have some idea, if there's some of those that we feel like we could scale back or not, but then that depends on what the dollar attached to it is.
Where it's coming from,
Yeah,
yes.
where it's coming from. So, I mean, and the other part of this exercise is to try and get input from the community on these things. we've always had trouble, I mean, the budget document itself that, this Broussard produces is very, has all kinds of requirements and has the numbers and accounts and all that kind of is required, that's to submit it. But the community's not gonna understand that, so what we've always seen is if we can engage them at a little higher level here, that's how they kind of, more relate to some of this stuff. So that's the other purpose of this whole thing is to try and get maybe from them. I mean, generally, when we've done it in the past, I think it's fair to say, they've been pretty much in agreement with what we're emphasizing. Yeah,
For the most part, but again,
Yeah.
it still goes back to getting, the input outside of the people that already
right,
are doing the work and they're kind of already
Yeah.
well versed in it.
yeah,
So it's really hard to
yeah,
really say that with fidelity when our input or feedback is minimal to none. So,
right. And so, and to the extent, I don't know, even some of these current activities, there's still a fair amount of jargon going on in some of that stuff, which makes it hard for people, from the outside to understand what's going on. But at least, and I I went through and did a version of this, where I kind of tried to take out or just explain the jargon, that there were a few items of jargon I had in there. So that, and I mean, we'll see, I don't know. Are there particular groups that you typically have gone to some student groups and maybe a PTA group or something like that?
yes, and so I wanted to get to, this point to kind of see where the priorities lie.
Right,
And then take that information to different groups. And I will say that, Ms. Martin did include the budget advisory piece, via email and Facebook and all that good stuff. And I believe it was posted today, and I have gotten an email with someone that's interested.
Okay.
So that seems to have worked for one so far. But yes, I do, make it a priority to try to hit different groups, to get that particular, feedback.
so I don't know, without seeing some specific numbers.
I think now that we have this,
Yeah,
then Ms. Bursong has
yeah,
a template to work from.
yeah.
Knowing that these are the priorities.
And if you come up back with, we can do this, but it's gonna cost a lot of money.
Mhm.
And here's an alternative, maybe we can do a little less, but it's gonna cost less money. Those are the kind of trade-offs, and we can have those discussions about, how do we get to the 4% or whatever, 4%.
Like expanding Avid, we can't do it right now, but we
Right.
want it on the list as a priority for someday.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. A lot of these, when I say plan, they could be 2-year, 3-year plan,
Yeah.
but we kind of, and then we may have to wait a few years before we have the money to do some of that stuff. But at least we kind of have we're trying to get to.
Are you gonna have some time to put your priorities in there?
I'm not sure that I have anything to add.
Can I leave an emphasis on academic acceleration or?
That's too bad.
So do you think the question is, there's a lot of stuff. And do you have this?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't have that one. There's a whole lot of stuff that's going on in there. So, this is all the current activities. So the question is, and I know, Dr. Borchia is spending a lot of time on that particular one. So the question is there, something more? I wrote it down as maintain.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on, so. And I don't know, I've talked about college and high school, for example, so that's going on. It's kind of a matter of,
Did you find
getting the staff people who, go through the certification process.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was thinking, we want our students who are kind of falling behind to get to the level that they should be at,
Right.
by like state standards.
Right,
And then we can also help them, excel academically through the programs they college and high school, but first we need them to get to the level where they can do, which is substantive.
Yeah, and that's down here, it's like, there's where it's like students in grades 1 to 8 who scored 2 or more grade levels behind. There's a focus, summer schools focusing on them. There's the growth,
High
rate.
quality
Yeah,
instruction.
yeah,
Yeah, so that is a priority.
yeah. So I think that's a maintain like what's current and just keep going at it because, those things like that aren't, you don't, snap your fingers and it's gonna be fixed tomorrow. You gotta work at it for a few years to see. And we've already seen in our iReady scores from last time, it's starting to take effect. So that's great. Okay, so back to you. Do you kind of think you have enough to
Yes.
move
I do
to the
have
next step
enough
at
to-
least?
Yeah.
Okay,
On the graphic with the circle,
yeah,
would we want to connect, would we want it to be a Venn diagram with the 4 circles? So they all connect? Or so that there's more of a connection with those outside edges?
yeah, I was thinking, what I was gonna do is put arrows.
Just
pointing in,
arrows?
but Yeah. that's what
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking, yeah. I didn't fancy it up, obviously, I just.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, I get your point.
I just didn't want to see a list,
no,
which indicates that the bottom of the list is a list. So I was trying to figure out how we could do it in a circle.
no, I like the circle. I'm
Yes.
just trying to tie them in.
Yeah,
And I think the other piece, and I don't know if it would necessarily go on this document, but somewhere is the association between the board budget priorities and our strategic plan.
Or maybe an umbrella with these things under, I don't know, something that's just not a list.
that's not a bad idea, yeah,
Your umbrella too.
Yeah,
an umbrella,
Yeah.
sure, could put an umbrella on top of that.
yeah,
Strategic
it's a
plan.
raindrop.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get you. Oh, no.
okay. Anything else on that topic? If not, we'll move forward to the financial, let's see, okay, so these are the questions only, presentations. So are there any questions about the financial forecast?
Yeah. No questions.
Okay.
Just answers.
Questions on the enrollment report? Very tiny tick up.
Well, Cascade View got like 12 new students last week because of Polaris. So that's working.
Excellent. Okay, monthly budget status report. Yeah, I didn't. Are you thinking about including, I'm concerned about this, well, I guess, yeah, you did an answer to the question, but to monitor the ratio of the expenditures to the revenue.
Mhm.
Is that one that you could include in this report?
Yes, I can start.
Okay,
adding it to
okay.
the- And then, if you just wanted how many years back, or do you want it monthly? Or how would you like to see that?
I think, let's see, you had it here,
I think that was 4 years,
Yeah.
including this year.
yeah, that's good,
Okay,
because that shows we were underspending a few years ago, and then now we're kind of overspending, and now we have to get back down to underspending to get our reserves back up, so. Yeah, that's, I think that's the number we're gonna need to watch. Early warning indicators, any questions?
What kind of jumped off the page for me was how did the pandemic play into any of these? Because it looked like it never happened in attendance or in our scores. I don't know. I mean, our attendance has gone down after the pandemic, where we would have thought our attendance would have gone down during the pandemic and maybe come back up when we went back.
Yeah, during the pandemic, there were some, students, and when they're all at home, distance learning. The requirement, I think, was for students to just like turn on their computer and be engaged. That she can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And it was a shorter period of time. Oftentimes it was a 2-hour period. And if you're at home and you're doing a 2-hour thing versus walking to school, doing a 7.5-hour thing. I think that could have led to some of the discrepancies.
So you're saying the attendance during the pandemic was higher than,
Yeah, by
You would
the data that we see
Okay.
here, yes.
okay,
So
it's,
do we know if the attendance that we have right now for this year is concurrent with the attendance data for our pre-COVID? Yeah,
We haven't done that analysis yet. We wait till we close the books at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's not looking good. I was surprised, well, yeah, Dennis maybe is not surprised, but surprised in what classes are ninth grade failing, number one class is advisory.
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's
That one, no.
my impression about that class, that's a show up class, if you show up,
yeah, and then, yeah, show up and then there's a few assignments,
yeah,
very quick assignments.
is that always first thing?
I think it changes, doesn't it?
Second period.
Oh, second day.
For 20 minutes, yeah.
so that would be, yeah, that's kind of a head scratcher for me, I guess, although.
It was for all of us, actually.
But you don't give a grade. Doesn't affect your GPA.
I don't believe it's very close.
But it'd be consistent with, I mean, the attendance that Foster is. Yeah, is that just because, yeah, I don't know. Have any ideas why that's,
I think I'd have to, maybe the student rep might have a better idea than I do in terms of attendance at Foster, it's there every day.
We don't necessarily know why, but we do know that our re-engagement specialist is working on that, based on her presentation earlier this year. She has leaned in and purchased the warrants, the assessment, the risk assessment needs that tell us why students are absent, and she's doing a lot of good work, meeting with students, meeting with families, trying to re-engage and find out the why. So we're not necessarily there yet in terms of understanding everybody's why, but we are trying to re-engage those who are not attending.
yeah, because that, this can result in truancy
Mhm.
violations and the court getting involved, and
Yes,
we don't want to go there.
for sure.
And the other thing was I was looking at the homeless, students experiencing homelessness, huge drop off. And I think you said, do we have a significant increase in the number of,
Yes.
typically what happens is, we start off with maybe 4 or 5%, and then during the year, discover more and more and more, and it just keeps going up to the end of the year. Can get to maybe 10%, so does it look like we're
We're way high,
Way
according
high.
to Julie and Marianne, we're way high.
okay,
We're at the end of the year numbers
now,
now.
okay, so that would explain, and it also might explain the Pacific Islander, I assume the Pacific Islanders may be disproportionately
Doubled up.
in the homeless situation, so that may be all tied up in one big
Could be.
issue.
Yeah.
Which. Yeah, that's
Yeah, Mary Ann told me one story about students arriving new to the country
yeah,
and they're coming into a space where inflation is taking over
right,
and immediately,
they're out, yeah,
And they're at, I think, 300 families at this point, and they're normally about 230 in this part of the school year.
And the other thing that we should be mindful of is we do have situations where students do not necessarily live in our district, but they want to stay here and
Sure.
follow the event.
Yeah,
And so while in some cases they would have moved, or they do have a place to stay, it's still showing up on our books as McKinney Vento.
and that's fine. I mean, we have the transportation capabilities and have that for use to get them wherever they are.
They're the ones that can get to school because they have
They are,
transportation.
exactly, they are.
Yeah.
The school on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
Which says that we must be doing something that's keeping them in support.
Yeah.
Just.
Good
for
news.
sure. Good news, yeah.
The question is, yeah, is there any other agencies that, Mary Ann, I know both of them do a pretty good job of reaching out,
Yeah, they have
To-
systems in place for sure.
yeah, reaching out to other agencies to help kind of find places to stay for the folks.
They know they're all
they
on
do.
my campus.
Pardon
They're all on my campus,
me? All 300 of them?
just about.
But then that's, yeah, okay. That's impacting the absence rates.
Are a lot of these excused absences? Because
It said it didn't
children
matter.
coming off of
Yeah,
wearing masks.
Yeah.
We had more illness in my house this year than we did last year when we started kindergarten, because we had a mask on all the time. Now he doesn't, and it's sick all the time.
Yeah, we can do that.
But look at the difference between Tuck
yeah,
and the others. And they should all be having the same germ
yeah.
warfare.
Yeah,
But is it also, is there the possibility of system failure in teachers reporting or I don't know how that happens.
You've taken attendance at an elementary school, it's fairly straightforward, in Skyward.
I didn't always do it though.
There could be a data entry issue, I'd have to actually check.
Okay, I just wonder.
Yeah, it definitely be worth understanding why that differential, and there's other things going on there that could be going on at the other schools that aren't or whatever. Okay. Okay, expansion of CPE options. Any questions?
They look amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking with, actually a couple of high school teachers. So there's this new entrepreneurship CTE program, which I was talking with Mr. Shaman with the robotics thing, and you know, operating that whole operation is kind of like a business. Because he has to, you know, raise support from the community, he needs to raise money, he needs, so part of it is communicating, and this is part that he doesn't really have anybody on his team to do. Communicating out to the community what he's doing, because it's great to have business sponsors from this, and that's a whole marketing
Right,
situation. And so he was kind of bemoaning the fact that he doesn't have somebody to do that. And so, you know, somebody out of this class would be an ideal,
it's a fantastic.
you know, a position to kind of combine with that. So, yeah, there's a lot of, and that's all great, real world,
Yeah.
you know, highly employable afterward kind of experience. So, yeah, that would be really
No,
good.
that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
So when you talk about that one, and you list possible other organizations like DECA or Family, Career and Community, are you saying you're exploring bringing those in or using their models or?
So each student of our CTE class has a student leadership club attached to it. And those are the clubs that are attached to the CTE class.
But do we already have DECA?
We have it in the business classes, yes.
Oh, okay, I didn't know. We did, okay.
And then they can also write their own CTSO plan, it's called equivalency. So if they have their own idea and they don't want to join any of those specific clubs, they can have their own equivalency.
Okay. So we have both of those clubs already, okay.
Yeah, I always love to see when you have, some of these have equivalencies to math or science or
Yeah.
ELA, because that gives more students different options for picking up those courses that in a way that's going to be more relevant to their future goals, so. Okay, there's no question on that one, then we got dual credit. Yeah, this one is. Yeah, this is news to me. I didn't know that we actually had that college. Is that college in high school, the pre-calculus program, is that actually active? Somebody's teaching that or?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's students in that class. right?
Okay.
Yeah.
We probably, because we've taught, I mean, I don't know, is calculus still available at Foster?
Yes, and that's another one of those classes that is possibly gonna move into
Okay,
college.
so it's not there now, but it could be.
Right,
Okay.
there's a few things that trainers,
Yeah, yeah.
teachers have to do. to be
Yeah,
trained.
yeah,
So-
right. Yeah, that would be a good one. And you mentioned that there's some ELA courses, English. language?
Yeah, there's an ELA teacher at Foster High School that's interested in doing.
Okay, good.
Are you doing any of these dual credit things? Yeah.
Oh, no, Morning Star, and I did take some AP classes before.
What's he's doing, running start?
Yeah.
Just the
Oh,
other-
that's true.
That's the most popular, well, no, AP courses are the most popular,
Yeah.
which. Unfortunately, some of those, sometimes you get credit, college credit, and sometimes you don't, it depends on where you go.
Where the store is.
Yeah, running start,
University stuff.
Yeah, running start, you're more likely to, I think, yeah. Okay,
And for the 21% for the AP courses, that's only for students who took the course, not for those who passed the exam, right?
These are students that earn dual credit, that had enough of the high enough cut score to receive college
Okay, so
credit.
they passed the exam.
Yes.
Okay.
so do we, see, I forget, how do we handle is there a charge for taking, I think there's a charge for taking those tests, the AP tests?
Now, we pay for that.
We cover it, okay, good. Yeah, because I know there's a state bill to cover that as well. Do you, like, when you do running start, do you have to pay for something?
I don't have to pay for anything except for maybe like book or materials,
Hmm,
like of the class, like lab materials, something like that. But
which sometimes is not cheap.
yeah, but sometimes if you qualify for free and reduced
Yeah.
lunch, you get like $150.
Okay. Which might buy you one book each.
Like, they're so expensive.
Half a book. Okay. There's no other questions?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
do we have any plans on expanding the college and high school program?
Yes, there's a calculus teacher that's interested at Foster High School and an ELA teacher that's interested.
Do we have any plans for STEM classes like science, like chemistry or biology or physics?
I could ask, we could start, but I haven't necessarily had a lot of communication with the teachers about this. I've talked to the administration about it. So I think we throw a higher net when we get organized, we're ready to move forward.
Seems like there'd be some potential in the stuff that Mr. Renz is teaching.
So he's dual credit through CTE right now with Shoreline Community College. So in the CTE world, I do articulation.
Oh, he's like he's
agreements.
doing tech prep.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
which is another, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that, you pretty much guarantee that you'll get college credit no matter where you go, or is that another one that's dependent on where you go?
That would be like if the student articulated to Shoreline Community College, they would accept it.
Okay, so anybody that would accept the Shoreline Community College credit would accept this?
Right.
Okay,
So the student will walk with their transcript,
Yeah.
whatever college they apply to, we would accept this credit.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And most credits from community colleges, I think, are accepted pretty widely. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so action items. Take a motion to approve the human resources staffing report.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the human resources staffing report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. It's unanimous. The report is approved. Take a motion to approve the 2023 First Robotics Competition Championship.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the First Robotics Competition. So I would say this is the one, if they do well next weekend.
Yeah.
When they do well next weekend, they've got quite a bit to go up, but anyway, we'll wish them the best. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. That's approved unanimously. Take a motion to approve 4 new CTE classes.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded that we approve 4 new CTE classes. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Approved unanimously. Take a motion to approve the asset preservation plan.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded, we approve the asset preservation plan. Is there any discussion? I was just curious, whether, why is Cascade View not on this cycle? Is because the building's too old, or?
No, because we didn't receive funds from SBI to do construction. In 1996, the asset preservation program was in 1996, when we
Yeah.
finished the construction was not
Okay.
in place. So in 2000, the asset preservation program took place. So the 2 schools that we built was Tapil and Thornhill, which
Okay,
since then, every single year we are doing a surveillance on that, on the
For how
school.
long? Forever?
Until we go to another bond,
Okay.
until, yeah, it's something that we're gonna keep doing every single year until we do a new construction or we receive more funds, depending on.
so how do we evaluate, just so, we evaluate whoever it is comes in and evaluates Thorndike and.
So we have a base of what we did in 2000 when we did our study survey. So at the beginning, we did a complete engineer and solver and they do an evaluation to that. That happened before, and after that, every single year we had to do, we call it an inventory. So somebody with the credentials from OSBI go to the schools and check every item, our walls, our roof, etc., all that. And then every other 6 years, then we do another study to the facilities. But that was more comprehensive, so we would have to do engineer. So that's how we keep our inventory and assets in order.
So I'm trying to think so Cascade View is on a
Yes,
different.
yeah, so I started conversations with Veronica to do a study survey for all the schools. Now we are on that timeline that we can do some. So she told me to go ahead. Yeah, we do a study. So it costs money because we have to bring in engineers and architects to look our facilities and do one complete from top to bottom study.
But it seems like we've had some, a couple of big water issues at Cascade View in the last few years,
Yes,
so.
and I'm doing a study on
Okay.
that, actually, because of that. A Cascade View is getting old.
Yeah,
The pipe side, especially the sprinkler system, is getting really old. One of the problems that we're having is that the sprinkler system, the outside sprinkler system is built outside. When and when we had the great freeze the big freeze on December 24th, because I was at the school on the 23rd. We had several pipes that burst.
Yeah,
So at this moment, I talked to Dr. Hernan, and we are doing a study on the sprinkler system itself, because right at this moment, we don't have no information on when we're gonna be replacing Cascade View. So it's in a few years, few years now, but the sprinkler system, the fire system needs to be most likely updated.
right.
So I'm doing the study first, and once I have the report, I will provide it to Dr. Hernan. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a year event for Cascade. That freeze and the pipes.
yeah, I know. Yeah,
It's
typically
a,
happens
it's a
in
year
the
event. We
cold.
know it's gonna happen with the temperature drops below the 25 degrees. We know that, we know,
Unless,
so we're just,
yeah,
unless that we completely revamp, or rebuild the sprinkler system.
yeah,
Which will be costly, and we have to get some engineers in there, because the way that the school is built, you still have to go through the outside
right.
in order to go inside for another building. So there's not too much. We'll see what the report states, or when they come with a report.
So I think it'd be nice to have that, when I'm talking about facilities plans, talking about, the longer term bonds, I mean. Obviously, Cascade View is on the list for next time,
Yes.
there's a big bond thing to basically rebuild it,
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
scratch, I think. And so, it'd be nice to have, kind of projected date.
Right.
Looking at, because we need to take into account, how much bond payments we're making and when that kind of starts to go down in order we can do that. Without an increase in the
Increase.
property tax, you'd like to keep that level, so. I think it's happening in like 26, maybe, I don't know.
126 is the next, we are eligible
Okay.
for Cascade View.
Okay, yeah.
In 26.
Yeah,
But it all depends on our finances, right?
Right.
So it's a decision that Dr. Herman and
Right.
business office need to make, if we can move forward with it. or not.
which is another reason why the fund balance is so important, because that's how they rate our, the time that you want a good rating is when you go after bonds,
Right,
which takes several years of good fund balance to get that point, so then you get a low, anyway. Okay, that's good. It's been moved and seconded, all in favor of approving the asset preservation plan, say aye. Aye. Opposed, none, say no, asset preservation plan is approved unanimously. Need a motion to approve resolution 928, appointment of YJ Construction for Showalter Middle School kitchen remodel.
So moved.
So moving and seconded that we approve, resolution number 928. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The resolution is approved unanimously. So now we go to the final public comment period. If anybody is interested in providing some public comments, you can put your request in the chat or use the Zoom raise your hand feature. And not seeing anybody. One going and gone. So, the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
So in a second, we adjourn, all in favor, say aye. Aye. It is adjourned.
Good job. That's good. Good job, Chelsea.